What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and in today's video, we're talking about the Yankees' 7-6 loss to the Baltimore Orioles. Now, I mean, it was just not a good pitching game for the New York Yankees. They did not pitch well. They hit extremely well. They did the things we thought they would do to Dean Kramer, which is to get runs off of him, to hit well off of this team. But their pitching certainly did not do their job, right? Like, you give up 7 runs, and that's a bad day for your pitching staff. When you score 6 runs, you should win that baseball game. And that just didn't happen. Clarke Schmidt started today. He didn't have any command. He got absolutely barreled up. They hit the ball hard off of him constantly. He didn't have command. He was walking guys. His strikeout stuff wasn't necessarily there. Nothing was working for Clarke Schmidt. It was a very long day for Clarke Schmidt on the mound today. And you know, obviously this depends on how Johnny Brito pitches. This depends on a lot of different factors. Rodon coming back, Severino coming back, Herman's pitching, you know, all those things. But it does shape out that Clarke Schmidt's going to be the guy who gets moved back to the bullpen. You know, Clarke Schmidt's had success in the past as a reliever. He has not had the same success as a starting pitcher. You know, is the stuff there? Yes. Again, you know, I don't think the question is about whether Clarke Schmidt has good movement or has good velocity or has a good breaking pitch or whether his sinker can move or not, whether his cutter's a good pitch or not. The question is, can Clarke Schmidt start? And I think that the answer to that question so far in his career has been an emphatic no. It just hasn't been there for him. I'm someone who's lobbied very hard for Clarke Schmidt, someone who believes in him very much as a starting pitcher. But it's a win now team. You don't have enough time to, you know, give a guy 10, 20 starts of sample size because, quite frankly, they have too many good pitchers on the way back and they have too much talent on the roster. Can Clarke Schmidt be that failed starter turned good reliever? Absolutely. You know, look at Jonathan Loaiza, Michael King. Hell, Clay Holmes was a starting pitcher at some point. You know, they've figured out ways to take guys who didn't make it as a starting pitcher and convert them into high leverage relievers. And the Yankees could use the bullpen depth. You know, today just wasn't their best day pitching wise. And it's, to me at least, it's a sign that, you know, Clarke Schmidt just isn't working for him as a starting pitcher. And I think that that's the consensus opinion amongst a lot of Yankee fans right now. The next guy up for the pitching staff was Ian Hamilton, who I think looked excellent. Yes, he gave up a run, and it was a run that Ron Marinaccio inherited, and he gave up the big hit to Adley Rutschman that allowed the games to get tied up. But Ian Hamilton, man, 4 strikeouts, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, no walks. I mean, he's been impressive to me. I think his stuff is really good. I think the Yankees really have something in Ian Hamilton. He's just 27 years old, so this isn't like an old guy. This isn't the guy who's 30, 33, 34, 35. Where you feel like you only have a couple years left of them pitching well, if even a couple of years, before you kind of have to cut bait. Ian Hamilton has plenty of control in terms of service time. Ian Hamilton has really good stuff, and he's really young. This could be a guy who ends up being a pretty decent piece for the long term for the New York Yankees, though, of course, I'm a big sample size guy, so I'd love to see a larger sample size before I start rushing to conclusions here. Ron Marinaccio came in after that, and, you know, it just felt like his command wasn't all the way there, and he does struggle with command from every now and then. And it just wasn't there for him. 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit, 1 run given up. The big hit, of course, the one to Adley Rutschman. You know, it just wasn't his best day pitching-wise. I thought there were a couple of pitch selection decisions that weren't great. But end of the day, you know, you trust Ron Marinaccio to get you through those spots usually. Not a bad call to go to him there. He just didn't do what he usually does, which is throw up zeros. After that was Jimmy Cordero, who he threw 2 wild pitches. That's basically the way to sum up his outing. He gave up the big hit to Arias. He threw 2 wild pitches, and that cost the Yankees, right? You know, his command also wasn't there. If you want to summarize how the Yankees, you know, lost today, it is because a lot of their guys just didn't have good command today. They didn't have a good feel of the ball. They didn't throw the ball well inside the zone. When they did, it got hammered, and then when they did throw pitches that weren't hittable, they were outside the strike zone. So, quite frankly, it just wasn't their day on the pitching side of the ball, and Cordero was just a byproduct of other guys doing the same thing. Not to say, of course, that other guys struggling should result in Jimmy Cordero struggling, just saying that he struggled the same way a lot of other guys struggled today. Wandy Peralta came in, he tossed a scoreless inning, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 1 hit. You know, there's not really much to say there. He threw a pretty good inning. You know, one of the few guys who just had a clean outing. And yeah, that really sums up the Yankees pitching. It just was really bad in-zone command. They allowed a 45.8% hard hit rate today. They allowed way too many free passes. You can't walk 6 guys and expect to get away with it. And that's the summary. They gave up 10 hits, 6 walks. You give up 16 base runners, you're going to give up a lot of runs. On the offensive side of the ball, though, the Yankees were excellent, right? Offense has not been this team's problem. Obviously, 4-3, you're not going to sit here and say this team's like bad or anything like that, or they're like struggling. You go 4-3, and you're probably going to win close to like 90 games. Obviously, you'd like to see them win this series and win the next 2 games and take this series. But the offense has been really good to start the year. The Yankees scored 6 runs today. I think they hit in some big spots. Really, the one really big, really poor, situation the Yankees, put themselves in was I really don't understand taking out Cordero for IKF. Now, I advocated for Cordero coming out of that game against a left-handed pitcher, but I would have preferred Aaron Hicks. And this sounds crazy to say, but Aaron Hicks is a better hitter than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is, right? I mean, that's just a fact. Even if you don't like Aaron Hicks, he knows how to work walks, so that's something. That's more than what you can say of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who just can't really hit. And if you look at the defensive alignments as well, you trust Judge in center, you put Aaron Hicks in right field. In the corner outfield last year, he had 6 defensive runs saved. You trust him to go play right field. You don't really necessarily want to be putting an infielder in the outfield when you don't have to. So overall, it just wasn't a decision that made much sense to me. It was a really short-sighted decision as well, since Aaron Hicks is a switch hitter and is a pretty patient hitter. So you anticipate in spots such as the ones where you had IKF up with a runner at third that maybe Aaron Hicks would have been a little more patient. You look at a spot such as the one that we had where IKF comes up and he was the guy who was called in to pinch hit. Maybe Hicks is more patient, right? Like, that's really all you're looking for. You're just looking for good at bats, right? And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he's swinging and missing a lot. He doesn't hit the ball hard. And I'm not saying Aaron Hicks is a good at bat, but he knows how to work walks, which is really better than whatever you're going to have off the bench. And even then, I mean, if you're going to bring in IKF, just keep Cordero at that point, right? It's not like they're going to throw out 4 or 5 lefties in consecutive. Their closer's right-handed. A lot of their top guys are right-handed. You could have stuck with Cordero, and I don't think it would have been the worst decision in the world. I just think the worst guy to bring in there was IKF. I really didn't understand that decision. Is Aaron Boone why the Yankees lost this game? Absolutely not. If you want to pin it on IKF taking it at bat instead of Aaron Hicks or Franchi Cordero, be my guest, but I think you're wrong. It came down to pitching. They didn't pitch, but I mean, I guess we could start to talk about the standout guys offensively, since I did ramble a little bit there about that pinch hitting decision. But the big guy today was Oswaldo Cabrera. He came up with so many big hits today. 3 runs batted in, an 874 OPS on the year now. He's really finding his swing now. Franchi Cordero, of course, had the huge home run, the 3-run shot that brought the Yankees back into the game. And then you also had Gleyber Torres, who worked the walk and got a hit. Giancarlo Stanton had 2 hits, including a double. DJ LeMahieu got on base twice with a hit in the walk. Anthony Rizzo had a hit as well. Really, the big story in terms of poor offensive performances today was from Anthony Volpe, who is continuing to struggle. He's hitting 150. He has a 442 OPS. And if you think I'm going to sit here and say that Anthony Volpe's struggles are, something that I'm concerned about, you're not going to get that from me, because I've preached this, coming into the season. I've preached this during the season. It's going to take time, guys. Anthony Volpe's not figuring this out in the first month of the year. Anthony Volpe he's 21 years old facing Major League pitching. He's not figuring it out right now. And that's normal. That's typical. That's how this goes. It's usually, progression is hopefully linear. It's not always linear, but you don't start off, as the best you can be in terms of offensive performances. And Anthony Volpe is striking out a lot. He's not making great swing decisions right now. He's pressing a little bit, but that's normal. That's baseball. That's what happens to young players when they get called up. If you want to scream about getting the kids playing time, you got to be ready to withstand situations like this where the guys struggle and where the rookies are not playing well and the rookies are striking out a lot. Oswaldo Cabrera is a great example of this. Oswaldo Cabrera right now, I would say, is one of the most consistent hitters on the Yankees. Flipping back to last September, he was atrocious, absolutely terrible in the first month of his career. The Yankees are going to be patient with Anthony Volpe. They should be patient with Anthony Volpe. They shouldn't make any brash decisions. I'm not saying Yankee fans are calling for that. I'm just reminding everyone that it's a process. It takes time to adjust to the major league level, and this is par for the course. But end of the day, if you want me to pick a standout player, it's going to be Oswaldo Cabrera. If you want me to talk about a guy who I think, really changes this team and absolutely needs to be the left fielder every single day until the Yankees figure out their outfield situation, which I don't think Harrison Bader is the solution to that. He plays center field. Judge plays right field. You still have an opening in left field. Until the Yankees trade for an outfielder, Oswaldo Cabrera should be the left fielder. This dude does way too much good for this team. He's way too important to this lineup. He needs to play every single day. Even if it means, switching him to second base sometimes. Obviously, you're going to give him rest days. That's baseball. But end of the day, this dude is raking. This dude's important. This dude's making quality contact. This dude's making good swing decisions. And he's coming up clutch for the New York Yankees. He needs to play a lot more for this team. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you guys want me to talk about in the next post-game recap? What do you guys think is going to happen next game? We'll obviously have you guys when the lineup drops tomorrow with a pregame recap, pregame show. We'll have you guys with something talking about the lineup. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion still since Brito's with the team, should be activated, but Donaldson hasn't officially been put on the IL. There are a lot of questions surrounding what the Yankees are going to do tomorrow. There are a lot of questions surrounding who they could call up, maybe to be a guy on the bench for the New York Yankees. They only ran a 3-man bench today, and you can't have 14 pitchers on your roster. It has to be a 13-13 split. But we'll get news on that, and when we do, we'll tell you guys about it, and we'll record about it. And of course, if you guys want to check out what we're doing, we are posting on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, make sure to drop a 5-star rating, and of course make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. You can follow me at Ryan Garcia ESM, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.